Hey, it's Saya.
It's Tiffany.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Carol.
And this is what keeps us together.
Basically the group chat in your head.
Living rent free.
Welcome back.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Right.
That's right.
Hey.
Welcome back, y'all. Another episode?
Yep.
Y'all ready
Another
to get
one.
it done today?
Let's get into it.
Yes. This week, our episode will be sponsored by...
Well, not sponsored by.
Not sponsored by, but should be sponsored by because
Yes.
I drink it enough. Essentia.
Mm-hmm.
Please, sponsor me because y'all expensive.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And I'm trying to be...
You were right. Sorry.
Hey, you set it up already. This is great water, y'all.
It is great
if
water.
y'all don't have Essentia in your life, you need some. But Essentia also, call us, DM us.
It's overachieving. Overachieving H2O.
It is overachieving
Wow.
H2O. That's right.
This ghetto
Not just the
bag.
tagline. Wow.
Anyway,
All right.
Essentia, we drink you all the time. We think the rest of our audience should, and we think you should sponsor us.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen again.
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
All right. While we wait for those coins to come in.
Let's check our account right now.
Yes. This week, for our song of the week, we're going to choose our songs that make us think of inclusivity, diversity, and those type of things. Who wants to get the ball rolling on this one this week?
Should we play our cultural reference first?
No,
No,
for song of the week.
No.
Oh, for song of the week.
Have you done this before? Welcome to our podcast.
Welcome to our podcast.
I'm new here. Sorry.
Well, I'll play mine because maybe I might have misunderstood the assignment.
Nervous.
Because when I think of a diversity and inclusion, I just think of Black people. So here's here's my song.
Only?
That tracks. We're not always included everywhere, so that works.
Oh, hold on. Let me just turn it up because I don't want to sing it. I feel like to get its full effect, you have to hear it.
Uh-oh. Now I'm nervous.
Okay, it's not
Well,
doing it.
while you pull your song up,
Okay.
I'll go real quick.
You go real quick.
As the resident auntie,
Yes.
I look to my other aunties for wisdom, and I would say Dionne Warwick.
Okay.
That's what friends are for.
That's what friends are for.
Oh, we were at different parts of the
In
song.
good times
And bad times,
I'll be by your side forevermore.
Sorry, Auntie Dionne. This is terrible.
you
Yeah,
trying to say?
but that's what my friends are for. It makes me think of togetherness. So,
Okay, my song's
I like
ready.
that one.
all right.
Here we go. Nope. It's like, oh, I'm black, y'all. I'm black, y'all. I'm blackity black and I'm black, y'all. That was my song.
Is that from
helped you
CB4?
out.
What's that from? Is that from CB4?
I don't know if I can only find it on YouTube. I mean, on Facebook, and I don't know who this man is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's from CB4. Chris Rock movie, 80s. It's good. If you haven't seen it, you should check it out.
CP4.
CB.
Oh, CB4.
CB4.
The song that came to mind for diversity inclusion for me was "What's Going On" by Marvin Gaye, because everyone sings
Yeah.
it. Yeah. That.
No, that's good. Well, y'all are so nice. Mine is
Nervous?
If I Was Your Girlfriend by Prince.
Can you explain?
Right.
He's a man.
He's a man.
I understood that part. Thank you, Carol.
Asking if he could be a girlfriend.
So like the song itself is
Yes.
diverse.
Mhm.
Okay.
And inclusive.
Okay.
You can
I'm tracking.
be either a man in the relationship or a girl in the relationship. You can be whatever you want to be. It's not what it's saying, but that's what it's giving to me.
Amen.
There's another song that I want to say is like with various artists, with like Michael Jackson and some other people.
Yep.
Is that
Yep.
the same?
It's the one where he's sunning them and he's like,
Yeah.
no, this is your note.
And all of them do the opposite note every time. It's
You
like,
just sent it. What was it?
it is We Are the World.
Yes. That's what I was
Yep.
originally thinking of, but the only world song that came to mind was the one, It's a Small World. I was like, what is that song? It's that one.
That's no. That's a good one as well.
That's
is.
inclusive.
Yikes. Okay.
Ooh, child.
All right. So today's discussion is going to be about diversity, equity, and inclusion. This comes from a few ad campaigns that were released, I believe, in preparation for Pride Month. right? And
Which is June.
yeah, which
Didn't
is
know.
which is in June, and the
Gay
culture,
pride, in case you were confused about what
Yes.
we're prideful about.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Fair.
That's very fair.
That is fair. No, that is fair. Thank you, Carol, for cleaning that up. Gay Pride Month come in June. So there's a bunch of ad campaigns that people have released, in preparation for over the last few months. And that's what our reference is going to be today.
Let's look at some of the worst Pride brand campaigns in recent history. Starting off,
Sorry, I'm just gonna start it over. Sorry.
Pride is around the corner. Let's look at some of the worst Pride brand campaigns in recent history. Starting off strong, we have Let's Grab Beer Tonight Queens. Now, not only was no one on this marketing team gay, I don't think any of them had ever met a gay person. This was part of American Apparel's Pride collection: diversity, transgender, evidence-based, science-based, fetus, entitlement, vulnerable. Now, the important context here is that these were all words that were banned by the CDC under the Trump administration. But without that context, it's like, yeah, I guess I support the DTESFEV community. Next up, the magazine Entertainment Weekly celebrated Pride by adding a pride flag to their EW logo. And I don't know how not a single person on their social media team saw this and was like, wait a minute, guys, wait, I don't know if this is the one. Next, we have the famously pro-gay United States Marines, known for such hits as the Don't Ask, Don't Tell policy, posting a pride helmet with rainbow bullets that says proud to serve. I mean, this is actually probably a great Pride product if you're a gay person with no self-respect, and perhaps the winner of them all. Last year, Burger King released a Pride Whopper where you could get either 2 top buns or 2 bottom buns, and I regret to inform you, I have no idea what the goal was here. The backlash to this image was so severe that they had to issue an apology, but I kind of wanted to try the top burger. Pride is around the corner.
I totally agree, because I would have been the person to be like, guys, 2 bottoms and 2 tops. Genius.
Why did
you're
we
the
think of this
problem.
before?
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I would have been like, Saya.
Carol on the ad campaign.
You would have asked your resident gay.
I would have. But I also would have thought it was a good idea.
Jesus.
Ooh, child.
So, go ahead.
I don't know. I feel like Carol should start since she's highlighted that she's the problem.
No, I just thought the last one was hilarious. But I do get why it's problematic.
I can't believe that it was real. I thought at first when I remember seeing it and thinking that it was like a joke ad.
Right.
But I don't think it was here. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't it? I think it was a Burger King ad overseas. It didn't air or didn't publish in the United States, I don't believe.
I don't remember getting to that level of detail. I just remember seeing it and being like, there's no way that's real.
I chuckled, but I also am not gay, so I understand why it's not
It was
good.
funny to me. That's terrible.
It is.
I don't know if I thought that the burger, there was the one that they started with the burrito.
The homo estas?
Yes. That's what had me. I was like, oh, wait, what? As someone who only speaks a little bit of Spanish, I read that a few times. Like, am I missing something here? Like, what is it? Something is
I was
wrong.
like, ain't no way someone wrote that. I'm sick.
Okay, can we preface this? Okay, we do not mean to be disrespectful
At all.
throughout this podcast, but it might happen.
Well, and not,
We're going to be hearing a lot of this.
Let's also preface it, but these are the things that we are finding funny, if not also finding humor in, which just downright disrespectful.
Right.
Like, we
Right?
acknowledge it's problematic, but when it happens to us as Black women, we also be laughing, even though we hate
True.
it.
Right.
But
So
I
like,
think
it's, like the
trauma
laughter
response.
is not like
is.
an endemic of the fact that we think it was a good idea, unless Carol does think certain things are a good idea. in
Only
which
because
she
I thought it
will-
was funny, not because it's necessarily good. I apologize. I guess we can define DE&I.
Okay, I was so nervous about what you were about to say.
Define
I just knew you were going to be like,
homosexuality.
define homo estas. That's literally what I thought you were about to say. Okay.
Yeah, as the non-gay person in the room, let me tell you what it means. Hold on. Okay, diversity, equity, and inclusion are 3 closely linked values held by many organizations that are working to be supportive of different groups of individuals, including people of different races, ethnicities, religions, abilities, genders, and sexual orientations.
Man, I feel like abilities gets left out a lot.
It does, and it was. And this one also says it encompasses people of different ages, races, ethnicities, abilities, disabilities, genders, religions, cultures, and sexual orientations. Before I was joking when I said diversity inclusion. I only think of Black people, but typically when I do think of it, I only think of people of color. I forget that this expands across many different categories when we're talking about DE and I.
I definitely forget about religion because I don't know.
Or age too. I don't think I really think about like age discrimination when I think about this topic either.
Well, you wouldn't think of.
I do in the workplace.
But I said you wouldn't think because this is a Christian-based country. You aren't. When I talk to people who are Jewish, then they're like, "Oh, people ask me all the time, what am I doing over Christmas?" And I'm like, "How about the holidays?"
Okay.
I do get that's annoying.
Yeah, for sure.
So
I guess I think okay, that makes more sense. I was like, Christian men are not minorities, and that's why it confuses me. But it's not involving Christian
at all. And also, we're not supposed to be a Christian nation.
Okay, got it.
We were founded.
You're supposed to be separation of church and state.
You're no longer putting the two state and
church and state.
Your church and state is separated.
Allegedly.
Not let Florida tell it.
Let's not talk about
Jeez, please, let's not.
How did we have this conversation and not talk about Florida?
I don't know.
Well,
Okay, I don't care.
I will say this
You got a
started the definition. The reason I like the definition is because what has come from the definition is what has become our cultural reference for today, right? Like it was supposed to be for individuals who felt discriminated against when trying to apply for jobs, when in the workplace, when, needing maybe leave for religious purposes or, their marriages not being acknowledged because they were same sex. Like that was what it was supposed to be. What has happened
is pandering.
Is all the pandering because let's keep it a buck. There is a lot of money left on the table if individuals choose to not support you because you don't support them, right? So they are finding, namely the largest group we'll know right now is probably the LGBT community. Yes. But I think that, that's part of it is where it started is like companies realized that they were leaving money on the table instead of really doing what they should have been doing, which was being supportive of the people who work for them.
And sometimes it's in place of that.
Yes.
Yeah,
so it's obvious that they're not actually a part of these marketing campaigns that they're supposed to be targeting.
Exactly.
Because they don't have anybody that works for those.
Yeah, or why is there only a marketing campaign, but we don't have initiatives in the actual job to support these same people that you're marketing to, which is always interesting.
Ooh, these hollow price points really is what it is. It's like, oh, we'll put money to this to be able to get other people to support, to give us money, but we're not going to put money towards doing the real work.
Yeah.
And it's so interesting. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, and it's so interesting, like this many years later with like as many, I don't know, did he highlight like 6 or 7 different like ads that are hollow in their intent? And it's just like, everyone sees through them.
Right.
Like, it's so obvious. Like it would be so easy to just actually like consult with who you're targeting or hire who you're targeting and make sure that they're included in these conversations.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Oof. That's a word. It makes me think about, so where I remember this playing out the most is initially like, I think it was in the late 50s, maybe early 70s when businesses were beginning to realize the amount of money they were leaving on the table by not including Black people in their commercials, in their marketing, or any of those things, right? And so what a lot of the companies did do then, which isn't happening so much now, is they did hire more Black individuals to then begin to create the right commercials, to include the right inclusivity in the commercials, to then get and gain customers based on Black families, Black, individuals who they were not being seen in commercials before that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
They were not being included in conversations regarding marketing. That wasn't happening at that point. So I think really they were, I've watched some videos on some of the first kind of pioneers at that time. And they talk about a lot how, they were given a lot of space to do it because there was money. There was money. People were like, oh, there's money. Black people are starting to move from lower class into middle class, and we are missing money on the market. But they didn't just say, hey, we're going to, I don't know, who was it, IKEA? We're going to have watermelon on Juneteenth.
And fried chicken.
No, they actually included Black people, hired them from marketing places to be able to then provide a product, not only products, but also product placement in a way that makes it so that Black people felt a part of instead of,
Yeah. I was going to ask, do you guys, is this a double-edged sword? Like, would you prefer that nothing happens, or do you prefer that they put out an ad? I mean, okay, I'm going to say this because I do know there's a better alternative. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you prefer them to put out a bad ad or do nothing?
Do nothing.
I'm kind of on the fence about this, mainly because I know, like, in having conversations with my parents' generation, like hearing what they talk about and how it felt like you were seen when before you weren't. I'm happy to have that, but what I don't like is that I think the biggest example I can give is like either the Sprite or the McDonald's commercials, where they just feel
the hip hop ads.
They're like hip hop ads, and I'm like, okay, yes, but like there are Black people who don't like hip hop. Like, can we get?
But is that the majority of who they're trying to reach? And I think that's part of like why I'd rather they do. If you are not going to be genuine in your intentions with our community, I'd rather you do nothing. Because if what happens is you do it wrong, we call you out, and then you perfect it, and so you just get better at accessing the community that you actually don't intend to serve. I hate that for us.
Mm-hmm. I feel you.
I do, but as a gay person, having an opportunity to maybe see yourself in ads or commercials that remind you, I don't know, it kind of just sometimes makes you feel like you're human. If you keep it a buck, right? Like
when it's done poorly?
When it's done at all. And I mean, poorly is, where
subjective.
It's not that great. But when you see, I think of like, there are a lot of ads now. As a matter of fact, I know people who are working in ads now that are including same-sex relationships. Mm-hmm. And to see that and be like, oh, yes, I do pay for my internet, and you already get my money, so that for you to recognize and appreciate that my money is coming into your business as well. I do like being able to see that. And people there are tons of naysayers, because I think immediately about the trans individual who was on the beer boxes right now. And tons of people are backlash about that. But as much backlash as they get, there are individuals who are appreciative of having people and seeing them for who they are, and not it be an abusive thing, right?
Yeah.
And whenever you hear about somebody, I mean, I think about the 80s and like how many people died of HIV, and the only time you even heard about anybody gay was in a negative light.
Right.
To have it be something different, even if it's poorly done, but trying to somewhat garner something positive versus it being something negative. I'm not like in like 100% in, but I'm like 75% for effort, I guess. Right? Percent for effort. Like
I disagree.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I mean, I kind of am with Tiff about the because it feels like you're checking a box and you're not necessarily trying to support any group of people. It's like if you're running down the list of all that falls under DE&I, then it's like, okay, do I have a Black person? Do I have a person or let me just say a person of color? Do I have someone who has disabilities? Do I have someone who falls into the LGBTQIA plus community?
Good job.
Right? Like if I'm checking the box, it's okay that I don't put the same effort that I would put into it if it were just a regular, degular type ad, like it just a regular, stereotypical, heterosexual, white male dominated ad versus me trying to put any effort into it instead of just utilizing the resources that you have around you to make it great, like the same type of great that you would make it if it was just a regular, degular ad. I don't understand. Or even in using the concept of regular, degular ad, reestablishing what is regular, degular.
Right.
Yeah. I was going to say, I agree. But there also has to be a foot in the door. And
That's my point.
sometimes like you have to do a bad foot in the door just to give some people an opportunity to be in an ad. The only time that it pisses me off is when I see a stereotype being portrayed. Like I hate the prep ads.
Me too.
Hate them.
Yes,
because and that's
Yep.
the one that really makes me think about it, because there's already this like negative connotation that the only people who can contract AIDS are gay
Right.
black men. And while in that ad there are a plethora of different couples, the main people who are in those ads are always like a gay or trans person of color.
Honestly,
that are centered in those ads. And that's the only time I'm like, you're still this is the one time you want to be diverse and inclusive. That's the only time that it kind of pisses me off. But otherwise, like I do get while 2 top and 2 bottom buns are like not ideal, like we have to at some point, like these are companies that are typically led by cis hetero white men. And if we can kind of open the door to allow someone different looking to be front and center, then I'm okay with it starting there, but we got to evolve at some point.
I think that evolution is important.
Yeah. What I'm not saying is like, I'm not saying that I don't love to see like diversity and who are in ads is more, all encompassing of what America or wherever like represents. Like, obviously, like that's what I want to advocate for, but I don't want to see it done poorly.
Right.
And I think that is like where I'm coming from with like the prep ads and all these like shitty ads that you see that like just poorly either like they misrepresent people or they feed into stereotypes of people. And that's where I think it is dangerous instead of beneficial. And so like when it comes to either none or a bad ad, I would choose nothing, because now we're seeing other companies that are starting to get more like marketing, advertising in big ways that are able to encapsulate the cultures that they represent or that they know that they're reaching. Like we're seeing like Brandon Blackwood and things of that nature, like really like Miel Organics, like hit the forefront and like have advertising where it's like we are actually seen and represented, and not in stereotypical ways, but in like ways that actually represent like who we are.
Yeah, but that's because they're Black run.
Yeah, but I'm saying like, and I'm not only advocating that like only Black people can do it, but if that, I would rather that be how the lesson is learned rather than 2 top buns and 2 bottom buns being like, oh, this was a misstep. Okay, sorry. Like that's what I was like, oh, like this is how we can tap in, or like, oh, I didn't know. Like those to me are like more will progress those conversations forward in a more real, beneficial,
for sure,
all-encompassing way than the pandering ads.
Yeah, and I feel you. I also just really want Black people to get a check. Not saying that we need to sell our souls for a check, but I do love seeing them get a check.
I agree. And I think what it reminds me of also is Starbucks. So you remember when there was the issue of
the red cup? Oh, nothing. Sorry.
No, not the red cup. I
feel like every Christmas they're in trouble with the Christians.
That too. The 2 men that had gotten arrested inside Starbucks, and then there was a time where Starbucks shut down for the whole day, shut down of their stores to do diversity and inclusion training,
like sensitivity training,
sensitivity training during that time, which I commend. I commend the effort, right? I don't so much commend the the execution, but the effort being made to recognize that they were part of the problem and that there was a need to try to fix it.
Can you give context
to the story of what happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe what happened a few years before the pandemic is 2 Black men were meeting at a Starbucks. A employee at the Starbucks felt as if they needed to make a purchase and leave. At best, I know for sure that they were being asked to leave. Whether or not they made any purchases or not, I cannot be sure of, but I believe it was before. They were like meeting. One was waiting, the other one came, they were talking, and they were going to order, maybe not. But either way, before that happened, police were called. They were arrested for being on property and, told to leave. When everything came out that they had done nothing wrong, they were, patrons like anybody else. Let me just caveat this. They were just people sitting at coffee. Doesn't matter whether or not they were doing anything right or wrong. They were not bothering anybody. They were there and they were asked to leave with force. Starbucks got wind of it.
And they were Black men.
And they were Black men. Starbucks got wind of what happened.
Oh, I have the story if you want me to.
Please.
Okay, because I was trying to look at it. No, it's okay. No, you're very close.
Okay.
So it says, employees at a Philadelphia Starbucks location called the police to say that 2 men were trespassing when they refused to leave after being denied use of the restroom because they hadn't purchased anything. A customer took a video of the arrest of the 2 men who were Black and had been waiting for a friend to meet them when they were asked several times to leave. They were released shortly thereafter when Starbucks decided to not press charges. And then that is when they shut down their stores to do the unconscious bias training. Yeah.
I say all that to say that's a great step in the right direction. I'm not saying that it's the right one fully, mainly because to Tiff's point earlier, what we didn't hear a lot of after that happened was the training should have been taking place mainly to me, if you're going to rectify the situation, top down, everybody needs to have training, but not only have training, but you need to be hiring Black companies to do the training because clearly y'all don't have any real respect for Black people. And that's where the problem lies. So let's get some training in with individuals who are Black individuals, because that is the group that you wronged at the time.
Right.
I commend them for doing the work, and I think I'm saying all that to say about what we're seeing with diversity and inclusion is a lot of times the people at the top are the ones who need it the most, but do not want to listen, and are more concerned with dollar amounts than they are concerned about the individuals that they hire, the individuals that they are getting money from as far as with regards to customers and with regards to individuals who are trying to do the work that they claim they want to do but aren't really doing, right? Like they'll hire a certain amount of people to make a quota. I've heard like consulting firms will hire a certain amount of people to make a quota at a certain point in time, then fire them and then just rehire them again just to make count. So like a lot of that is what I see happening instead of real work.
Yeah. Like
real work isn't really happening, unfortunately, but it's hard if you're at the top. It's hard to tell somebody at the top who's eating good, who has everything they need, that they need to look out for the person below them.
Yeah,
they might also not be aware.
Yeah. I always go back and forth because I agree. Like if someone's going to be teaching diversity and inclusion training, I always think it should be a person of color. Mm-hmm. But then someone pointed out to me as like as a higher executive white person, are you going to listen to a Black person to give you, or are you going to listen to one of your peers possibly? So, because I remember this happened in a situation that I was in where they were trying to hire a white man to do a session on diversity and inclusion. I was just like, I feel like this should be a person of color for, to me, obvious reasons. But I do also get if you're in a room full of Caucasian males,
but isn't that like the perfect opportunity to enact exactly what you should be learning?
Mm-hmm. I agree, but I do, but I see the side where people are saying it should, maybe one of their peers should be teaching. I I go back and forth on what's the appropriate response
I
to
just feel
that.
like the lens of are you even going to listen to someone that doesn't look like you defeats the purpose of the actual training.
It does defeat the purpose, but it's almost like
But is it going in one ear, not the other? Like, we're
That
wasting our
part.
time anyway?
Yeah.
that part. It's because you can't receive a
But
message
does it
from
happen either
someone.
way? If you only hear it from...
It's almost like,
I hear
okay,
you. I hear you.
I hear you as well. It's almost like, for example, if you were to ask the opinion of, I'm just saying, like a parent, right? You ask your parent a question and they give you advice. You're like, you're always attacking me and this, that, and the third. But then you ask your friend, they give you the same advice. They're like, yeah, I see where you're coming from. You're getting the same message from someone who might be closer to you, like who in your mind feels like is closer to the issue as you are. So you're able to see from their perspective versus someone who is quote unquote outside looking in.
and perceive it differently. Yeah.
I was listening to another
Tiff is
podcast.
disgusted.
I'm not... but I understand what you're saying. It just is...
It's
It's disappointing.
psychological.
You know what I mean? Like
is.
it's just like that is like very sad to like have to think about. And I do understand what you mean, but like if it's a white man that's a stranger versus a white man, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
a parent versus a friend is very different to me and how those different messages resonate versus a stranger to a stranger. And just because one stranger looks like you and this message is the same, that you're going to hear it more, it just means that it's purpose defeating in my mind. If diversity, equity, and inclusion is exactly the topic.
No,
Yeah.
I feel you, but it's also like parenting advice. Like, I'm going to take parenting advice very different from a fellow parent stranger than a friend of mine who's not a parent.
Right.
Yeah, but okay.
There's something else to be said. So I think
To me, do you understand why those two things are different?
I do, and I do understand
Because a
where
parent is closer to the actual problem that you're experiencing versus a non-parent is further away, which is why you're not going to listen to them more.
No, I get what you're
Which
saying.
is the inverse of
Verse,
that
yes.
actual situation.
Yes.
Okay.
I do understand. All I'm saying is I do understand what people are saying when they're trying to get through to a certain group of people who seem to only listen to people who look like them.
this is true. Remember we were had a previous episode. There's a small amount of people within that upper, I don't know, 1% that won't let individuals in who don't look like them, don't sound like them, don't talk like them for self-preservation reasons, right? And it doesn't make any sense overall for them not to, because having an ability to talk across cultures, classes, all of that would make them more rounded individuals. But it doesn't for them. They don't see the value in that in any way, shape, or form, and it sucks.
But you hiring a diversity, equity, inclusion person to come teach your company about diversity, equity, and inclusion because you're more comfortable with what they look like is exactly the problem.
But no. The problem is more so than that. It's to teach the company, not me.
Mm-hmm.
And therein lies the problem, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. We could do diversity inclusion all the way down the line and exact some changes, some not. They probably won't affect much of anything because the person who needs it isn't getting it. I'm guaranteed there are very few CEOs who have sat in a diversity and inclusion seminar at all, let alone if they have, and taken anything away that they've utilized in their company at a later point. There are some, don't get me wrong, but it's that number when you were getting up there are individuals who do not believe anyone else can tell them other than either somebody who can beat them at their own game or play the same game that they're playing, or, you know what I'm saying? Like it reminds me of like Billions.
They've put them in a realm of unteachable, if that makes sense. Like it's almost like if I'm the CEO of the company, there's nothing you can teach me. I'm here to make sure that my staff has what they need, but I don't need any of these things. I'm exempt from all of these things now. That's what they tell themselves, but we know otherwise.
Yeah.
We know that they do need it because
The problem
it starts from the
without
top. It starts from the top.
It does.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. All I'm saying is we're making a lot of assumptions with these conversations. I think that there are a lot of CEOs and companies that do take diversity, equity, inclusion. I think that the specific situation with Starbucks stems not from a racial issue. It stems from a policy that occurs because I think a lot of homeless people end up using Starbucks bathrooms.
Yeah.
And that's why you require patrons to only be the ones allowed to use the bathrooms. And that then creates the Venn diagram that intersects with race.
Right.
But I think that a policy that you're writing doesn't necessarily include that aspect. I think that the diversity, equity, inclusion training that they shut down Starbucks to do was a knee-jerk response to the backlash that they were receiving. But I don't know that it was a core reason that instance actually occurred, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You don't think they could have discerned that these men weren't homeless?
No, I'm not. That's not what I'm saying.
What was that last point? Say that one again. Say the last point again.
The policy itself is that, okay, a policy is written and you're trying to write a policy not to be pejorative to a group of people. So you're not going to write a policy that's like, homeless people can't use the bathroom because they don't pay for service, and then who knows what happens in the bathroom and it's uncomfortable for everyone, blah, blah, blah. That's not what you're going to write. What you write is, unless you're paying for a product, you can't use the bathroom.
Correct.
Because that seems to cover that issue.
Right.
So in a situation like this, where someone doesn't patron the establishment and tries to use the bathroom, it becomes an issue because all of the staff decides is like, this is the policy that I was taught and that I have to enforce, without having common sense to like read the room, and then becomes a racial issue once it gets escalated. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes.
So like, I don't know. I'm just like, all I'm saying is like the core piece of like who should be teaching and what is being learned and what is going to actually like trickle down to affect the company does not. I don't know how diverse and equity training, and then it goes to the policy writing. I still like, there's still a misalignment with how that actually becomes enacted in real time.
Well, this is why I said in the very beginning that I appreciate the effort, but I don't think the execution was what was, to your point. I 110% agree, because it's a systemic issue that they are trying to contend with policies when you can't do that. Right. At the end of the day, really what diversity and inclusion is trying to do with the training is trying to get someone who has experienced it to share their stories, so that there's some type of empathy that happens within the people who are working in the company, to then maybe want to find ways to make a change so that it does not impact people who are on the margins in ways that exclude or hurt or harm.
But that core piece about sharing my actual experiences is why I think it's sad to have a white man teach.
Agreed.
That topic.
I think that we all agree that.
Yeah.
I think that the problem is, I have watched in real time a CEO make friends with his Black counterpart, who was not beneath him, but right up there in, the ivory tower of whatever. And that relationship make more change in that person than any other relationship that he's had with people that have been below him, and worked for him further down and weren't in that close proximity. To your point, that relationship has changed them. Is it to say that it needs to be a white person only? No, but if we're talking about only doing it, a lot of companies only having other white people in that ivory tower, and then you're going to bring in a Black person that they never see on a day-to-day basis and ask them to share stories where they don't know this person, they don't have any day-to-day relationship, that might not make as much of an impact as maybe having someone from a different company who may be in their own white ivory tower come over and say, hey, we've had this experience because I worked with somebody who told me about these things, and I know that these things are what happens because of his experience. I want to bring him in, but first, let's have this conversation about why your company isn't doing whatever, X, Y, and Z, what they need to do to change, and then I can bring that person over. But I don't know that person from a different company, unknown to them, would be received with open arms to be heard, is my only point. Yeah. I think that's what, I don't know, maybe that's what it is.
But also like the argument of do your own research, do your own work. Like there's also that part of it where we've even said there's only so much teaching that I want to do. Yeah. Now, again, if that's your job, and you're going into, you've decided your occupation is going to be teaching a DE&I course or sensitivity training or whatever, unconscious bias training to a company, and that's your job, that's one thing. But we've also said we're tired of being the ones that have to teach white people how to be sensitive or to be
like in a
inclusive
personal
or,
relationship kind of
yeah,
way.
like so there's also that part of it too. Like, do you even want to be the people that are going into these companies
I've
and
heard
doing
from a
all
lot of
this?
people no.
So I mean, there's that argument as well.
I'm not saying like as a like if I'm working for you and you decide that we need diversity, equity, inclusion training, that you're asking me to do it. That's not what I'm advocating for.
No. I'm just saying the other part of it, where we're saying if we don't necessarily want a white person to do it, there's also that argument where Black people or gay people or whoever are tired of being the ones to teach you when you could be teaching yourselves. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Whew.
I'm watching Real Housewives of New York right now. They're 13, whatever season ended previously. I'm watching it, and Ebony Williams is actually on that season. This whole controversy with her dating a bus driver made me want to look her up and know more about her. And so one of the episodes she's on there, she's just like, I can't be your. This is obviously different because she's with these women on a more personal level, but she's like, I can't be the person that continues to teach you, because she's literally the only person of color that I can see on
non-white passing.
Yes, on this season. So it's just like I think she's constantly being like the teacher for them. I haven't seen the entire season. I'm very early on, but I can see how it's exhausting for her to constantly have to tell them why they're being inappropriate. Their behavior is inappropriate for other people of color.
Is it like she's calling them out in real time in situations, or like they're coming to her with questions?
Well, the one I just watched, one of the women called someone the help, who was another white person. Thankfully, they weren't of color. But she was like, I can't ever remember the help's name. And so Ebony was like, later on, she was in the moment she's talking to one of the other castmates, and she's like, did she say the help? And then later on, she confronted her and was like, what you said to her was I just want to tell you that what you said was very triggering for me, because her mom or her grandmother was a domestic worker. And so she like to be referred to as the help, whether they're white or Black or of color or whatever. It's an offensive term. Like there's domestic or housekeep, whatever professional word is for whatever job they're doing. Like you can call them that, but calling them the help is very derogatory.
Right.
And so she had to explain to her that. So in that situation, the lady didn't even know she was being defensive. Ebony just had to bring it to her attention that what she said was offensive. But later on, I saw in one of the episodes, she takes them to Salem.
Is that on Girls Trip?
No, this is on Real Housewives of New York.
Okay.
Salem,
North Carolina?
Massachusetts? No,
I don't know which Salem they go. I'm assuming it's down south, Alabama.
Okay.
I'm assuming it's Salem, Alabama.
That's a lot of Salems. Where are we at?
Selma?
Selma?
Selma.
Alabama.
Selma, Alabama.
Okay.
Oh, geez.
That's going in the end of year roundup.
Sorry, Selma, not Salem.
You sound like Portia Williams.
I do.
right now.
Terribly sorry. I know the Underground Railroad was not a real railroad. All right. Yes.
Where's the train fit?
So I haven't seen that episode yet, but I'm like, oh God, this feels
She
exhausting.
elects to take
I don't know. I haven't seen it. I just saw the
Gives very much
preview of a
probably
little
not.
bit of it, so I'm not quite sure. It feels like Andy was like, let's take these
that
white
feels like a
people
production
to.
choice.
But you,
For sure.
okay, so to that point, it makes me, the reason why I asked that question is because I
Salem, Jesus
started
Christ.
watching, I started watching, I guess, the spinoff show of The Real Housewives, the Girls Trip ones, where you can see that they're being very intentional about who they select for these.
Are you watching the Bali one with
No,
Portia?
I've just finished Turks and Caicos. So the
Okay.
I'm starting it from the beginning.
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
And you can tell that as they're doing this, they're being really intentional about who they choose for the casting for each one, because they go on these vacations. Like I think the first one is is it Mary Lou from?
Yeah, they went to the
New
Hamptons or
York.
something, right?
No, they went to Turks and Caicos.
So the premise is they're going on trips, but they're not going with their current season people.
So they
Right.
bring housewives from different franchises
Oh my
together.
God.
And what I think is interesting is that Atlanta being an all black cast. And then you have New York that up until recently is an all white cast.
Almost all of them are all white.
Right. And then you have
Except for Miami.
New Jersey, who's white adjacent, but
Italian?
I mean, I don't know. I always feel like Italian is spicy, but whatever. No,
I don't know. I don't want to be a part of this.
Anyway, it's all like they just bring people together from the different franchises, and you can see that they're being really intentional about making sure they include all these groups for the purpose of having all of the different nationalities representative in whatever manner that is. Like, but I don't. That's the reason why I asked that question.
Are they having heavy hitting conversations? Or
it doesn't look like
trips?
they are. It looks like they're going on trips, but you can see that there's certain levels of tension depending on where.
Like, no, she's not trying to be like, oh, have you thought about race lately?
Well, no, not Portia, but the first season I watched. You can definitely Kenya Moore is Kenya is very
outspoken.
Outspoken about how she feels about things, and I feel like the entire season was her checking people on like, no, you're going to treat me with the same respect that you treat these.
Wait, it's a season of vacations?
No, all of these housewives, they come together to go on like a trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how many episodes?
It's like 6 maybe.
Wow. Okay. Still shocking. Go
but
ahead.
it's like over like a week or two. Like it's not like they're there for a long time.
Got it.
Right.
They're being put together like real world to see what pops off.
Yeah. But I will say this episode of
That's exactly what it is.
Or the season of Real Housewives of New York that I'm watching is the first time that I've seen like white women being checked about their racist or comments that they're being made. But it's only because it's a black woman on this show to check them on it.
Right. I'm gonna have to keep watching.
And there lies needing some diversity.
That's the rub.
Right.
Because while it's not the position that we want, like if black people are never in those circles to be able to have those conversations, like I don't know the realistic aspect of people being able to learn.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think I was saying with regards to, first of all, diversity and inclusion training, nothing against it, but I think that it's not going to be able to do everything that it needs to.
Doesn't give.
Have y'all sat in a training?
Yeah.
Okay, I've only sat in a session about diversity and inclusion. I've never sat in a diversity and inclusion training.
Oh, well, I
just
guess
a session.
that would be the same thing I had. I don't know that I've done is it like a few days? Like what we
No, I'm saying
what's the difference?
So like I've been in a session where they covered it, but it wasn't like how
like
to include diversity and training in your job or like covering it and how to fix it or how to
apply it.
Apply it to jobs or whatever.
Interesting. At my new job, like I had to do the training and it is really interesting.
Okay.
Like they do get down to like
what's appropriate and what's not.
Well, that and why. They will give you examples of like why, like this isn't an appropriate question to ask and here's why.
Okay.
But they will also like down to like writing documents. Like we don't say like blacklist or like whitewash or like certain like buzzwords that I was like, oh, I think I say that. You know what I mean? So like it was interesting from that standpoint of being like, oh, like it's kind of cool to see like how expansively people are trying to think. And again, it kind of like lends to like, you know, the real estate industry when they're like, oh, we no longer call them master suites. And we're like,
primary.
oh, okay, like,
primary.
I don't know who asked for that, but I get it. I don't, it's not really changing my day-to-day like microaggressions, but okay. So it's kind of like that also, where it's like, it's cool, like how far down you like thought about it. But then it's also like, we're kind of like now getting further away from like the core of like what is actually affecting us day to day.
Yeah. I think that's for me, having had the one day, I haven't had what apparently Tiffany has had, but I don't think the one day
it was
training,
one little 30-minute session. It wasn't a whole lot.
PowerPoint presentation, pre-recorded.
Well, you still had more
Let me not hype it. Let me not.
You had a little bit more than I did, but my experience wasn't one that I think can ever truly get to what is necessary and needed to really help in the way I think diversity and inclusion was trying to initially, which is it's honestly putting people in at the job in those rooms and having one-on-one or maybe small group conversations with people who have had the experiences. Because until you're including individuals on the payroll who have disabilities, who are gay, who are background or the other, who are Jewish, who, until you have those individuals on your job, there's no way in the world that you're going to be able to have enough trainings to prepare you to deal with a lot of the systemic issues that we are seeing in our world. And I think that that's the only reason when we started this whole entire thing that I don't really enjoy the commercials, but I understand what they're trying to do, right? Like on the ads. No, that's it.
No, I was just gonna say, I think the other side of that is like, until you start having these conversations, you may not also realize like who, like in your proximity that you thought were like well-read, like well-rounded people who were accepting of others are actually bigots. Like I was like, why can't I just say Christmas? Like, because everyone doesn't celebrate. Like, how hard is it to understand that?
Yeah, or it's also interesting to me. Like I'm Christian, so getting off for Christmas has never, like that being a national holiday has never, it doesn't even cross my mind like that's other people. But I have a Jewish coworker now, and there's several Jewish holidays that I didn't even know existed until I met her. But she has to come into work on those days. And so she fought to get those days off because she doesn't care about Christmas. Like, that's not a holiday she celebrates. Like, she wants to be off. Hanukkah's what, a week?
Yeah.
And some other Jewish holidays are around Labor Day.
Yom Kippur. I don't know the dating, but I know that Yom Kippur is one.
Yeah. And so she had to fight to get those holidays off.
Right.
Because she doesn't care about the other like Easter or these other Christian holidays that we're just automatically getting off. But for her, she's like, I can work Good Friday. Like, that's not a holiday for me, but she wants to be off for her religious holidays. So it's very interesting that like, even in in this year, we still have to fight to get off your religious holidays, where it's not just if you don't want Christmas off, what would you prefer? You know what I mean? It should be an option. Like, if you're not Christian or if you're Muslim or whatever, what's your holiday that you would like to be off as opposed to Christmas? Like, people still have to fight for those options. I don't know. It's very interesting that we're still there.
It is.
Or even like Juneteenth, like that's now a holiday. And
for who?
For the first time, have it off.
I don't.
You used to, though.
For the first time last year.
Yeah. But I mean, it just became a holiday like 2 years ago.
And the first year I didn't get it.
Yeah, neither. Neither did I, but they tried to because they
made it a holiday like a month before the holiday.
No, it wasn't even a month. It was like a week before. It was crazy. It was really crazy how
HRs everywhere were like,
They were like, what are we supposed to do with that? What are we supposed to do with that? We adding it to the calendar or not?
This year's the first time I'm having it off.
Oh, I had it off last year.
Yeah.
Thank God for Jesus.
I don't have it off this year. I'm low-key surprised I have Memorial Day off. I was like, oh yeah, nice.
You don't have Juneteenth off this year?
No, I do not.
Oh, Lord.
She don't work for the feds no more.
I sure don't. I don't get all the national holidays no more. Sad life.
Dang. I'll pour one out for you.
So how do you feel about the argument about Black or white actors playing historically? They're not race.
Okay, let's talk about it. Because when it's Black people playing Cleopatra, I'm for it.
Cleopatra was Black. See?
Right.
Pick another one. She's African. Whatever. Pick another one.
I think people get mad because I won't get into all that.
I can get into the Egyptian.
Trying to be funny. Because people are suing Netflix over that.
I also don't understand that.
Really?
Yeah. Egyptians.
Why?
Yeah, that is wild. I don't even know if we can get into it.
Oh.
Well, I don't know if I were educated enough to get into that controversy.
Okay.
I can't give
about me.
We'll talk about it later then.
Okay, that's fine.
I'm going to say this. If we have any Egyptian listeners or those who have been born or raised or around the culture, please reach out because we would love to have this conversation.
I have the initial context if we want at least that.
Okay.
We don't have to continue the conversation past that. But
go ahead.
The Romans I won't say the Romans. Cleopatra is Greek. And so that's why they're saying she's actually not African and then therefore should not be portrayed as a Black woman.
Mm-hmm. Says who?
That's the historians and Egyptians. And that is like where I will end it because I don't pretend to know.
They ain't no black Greeks. Never mind. All right.
They came from somewhere. We were all African, right?
Hella.
Anyways,
And good
Again,
night.
we are looking for anyone who would love to have
Yeah,
this
I would
conversation.
actually love to have this
Yes.
conversation.
okay, but I want to answer your question, and
I was also joking about Cleopatra.
I can't answer it just from the standpoint of like white actors that play black people, because I don't have a lot of references for that in recent history, because that's called blackface. But when what's his name from Breaking Bad? What's his name?
I don't
Walter
know.
White. His actual name, Michael something.
Michael Scott?
Y'all don't know it?
No.
That's
I don't know his real name.
I don't know his
From The Office.
Yes, I
okay.
don't know.
No,
I don't
not him.
know.
Okay, well, Walter White from Breaking Bad.
His
he
real
was,
name.
he was in the movie with Kevin Hart, and he was playing a disabled man, and Kevin Hart was his.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of controversy
Yeah.
around him playing a disabled person rather than casting a disabled person.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same with like, I feel like this happens with trans people as well. Like I feel like, wow, Pose, right, was one of the first shows like where they actually had trans actors playing trans characters.
And it's interesting because I feel like when these conversations happen, people are like, it's acting. Like that's the point. And I'm like, wow, that's really myopic. Because on the flip side, as a disabled person, like if I'm actually wheelchair bound, I can't just
act and walk.
can't just audition for any fucking role.
Yeah, a walking.
Yeah.
Now you have to go up these stairs.
My opportunities are limited.
Yeah, it's also when there's also people, there are actors that embody the characteristics of the character that you're trying to play. So why not just try and cast them first?
Wait,
No.
say that again.
Like there are disabled actors, there are trans actors, there are black actors, there are actors of all.
Right.
We're spanning the D&I corridor of categories.
Okay.
So why not? If the character falls in one of those categories, is it so hard to first try to find an actor that fits in that category rather than someone who doesn't fit in that category and making them?
Oh, yeah. Because there was some movie that Scarlett Johansson played and she was supposed to be a black woman, I think.
A black woman?
Yeah. And listen, I don't know that I've seen the movie because one of my friends from college brings it up anytime Scarlett Johansson is in the news. She's like, I don't pay attention to this news because Scarlett Johansson wasn't. I don't know.
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
There's other actors that have played in Asian.
Oh, there are a lot of
movies,
those,
and they have been white, and it's like they're all of the actors you could have chosen. They have been, white. I think what a lot of this speaks to, as far as acting is concerned, is a little bit of nepotism, is a little bit of laziness, is a little bit of capitalism. Right?
It's a lot of capitalism.
For sure.
It's a lot of wanting the big name actor on your movie.
Right. And so I understand it from the standpoint of individuals who go to, who are making said movie, have presented it to said studio, and said studio is saying, in order for us to make any money off of making this movie, you've got to get a name that's gonna, pull, a certain amount of money, because it costs to be able to make it, right? So I completely understand that, and from that standpoint, but I also feel like we're at the point now where there are so many different ways for movies and entertainment to be made, and individuals to have their shot. I think of like Issa Rae on YouTube, like, starting off with like her awkward black girl, and then blowing up into Insecure, because she wasn't seeing what she wanted to see elsewhere being portrayed.
But I also want to be careful about highlighting those things, because it's kind of like when white people are like, oh, racism is dead. Like, obviously we have a black president like Barack. Like, it's over. Like, we're even now. Like, blah, blah, blah.
No.
Like, just because
One
like
person
Issa
did?
is still an anomaly.
Yeah. No.
That's all I want to
yes,
highlight.
no, for sure. I say all that to say, I think we're at a space where companies have to weigh the risk, but at the end of the day, I think that there are some risks worth being taken, and you got to just figure out what that is, right?
Yeah, inclusivity shouldn't be considered a risk.
It shouldn't be, but at the same time,
I still have Kevin Hart in that movie.
I also right, exactly, right. You do have a big name in that movie. You also, I think, also it plays into being lazy, right? Like it's very easy to be like, oh, you know, this script is so great, and whatever his name is, Michael Scott, whoever. Saw the script and was like, oh, I really want to play this guy in a wheelchair, even though I am fully abled. Pull some strings and let me get it done, right? And hey, this guy's asking to do it.
May not even have to pull strings.
Right.
They may call him.
Right. They may have called him, or vice versa, whatever. It's lazy, right? To your point, I think it is very lazy. We're at a point where if you have the ability to be able to make something different, because to me, when you are pulling from the same actors all the time, you're making the same film with the same actors.
Well, not if you're good. Not if they're good.
Sure.
Okay.
All right, fair. But that the diversity of the audience is going to call for a diverse film or a diverse show, and you're going to have to take a risk. You're going to have to take a risk on doing something. To your point, it shouldn't be a risk, but it is, because what they look at is they look at numbers and they look at all these other things, and so it is considered. It's called a risk, whether or not it really is one or not.
It is,
right?
but so often Hollywood is wrong.
Right,
like
I agree.
From those exact same metrics.
So speaking of Hollywood, Scarlett Johansson apparently has like a trend.
Let's hear it, because this is what I've been waiting to hear. I know it exists, but
So it says that she's supposed to play a trans man in an upcoming movie.
Not in an upcoming movie.
This is as of June. It says upcoming June 3rd. Oh, this is years ago actually. So she, I guess it did happen. I'm not sure. This article is from 2018, so maybe it happened. It's called Rub and Tug.
Oh my god!
And the title with it.
Oh my! Yes. I don't even know what sound effect to play.
And then there's another movie where she played a Japanese character.
Yeah.
So apparently, so it's funny because then they were like breaking Avengers star Scarlett to play Gandhi in upcoming biopic.
I saw this article that says she was the highest paid actress in Hollywood.
Is she?
And I was shocked. Lord.
They have an article saying her timeline of her most controversial roles. So apparently since just be taking anything. It's got a check attached to it. Scarlett Johansson go and play
that's why I'm the
highest paid. Jackson of movies.
But it also reminds me of when who played Nina? Zoe Saldana played Nina Simone, and that was like people were livid that she was playing Nina Simone.
I think they were livid because they put darker makeup on her than her actual complexion. Harry and I were literally just talking about
why
this.
Do that when you could just
hire a dark skin actress? There are tons of talented dark skin actresses they could have cast.
Actually, Whitney could have played her.
But
Whitney Houston?
No.
To be honest with you,
the girl who played her.
Oh, you stop. Actually, now in this moment, now that I'm thinking about it, because we saw her in the ad for Guardians of Galaxy, she's used to going on set and getting her full face painted. So her putting on blackface might not be a thing. I'm not saying it's right.
Not her going from being an avatar to blackface.
I'm not saying it's right, but that might be her her line of thinking when she had it. I thought she was dead ass wrong.
No, I think. Well, she came out later. I think. And did that movie even come out about Nina Simone?
Probably. Did
anybody
watch it? No.
I don't know. But she came out later and was just like, I shouldn't have taken this role.
Right. I regret everything.
Yes. So that being said, wasn't it Richard Dreyfuss or somebody that was recently talking about
who is that white man?
He's an actor.
Who is that?
I recognize the name, but I can't put a face to it.
Was that the one who was like, it's acting, I should be able to play whoever I want to play? I was trying to find that, but I could not find it. He's basically saying he
wanted to play a black role.
Yeah, and he was like, I don't understand why I can't.
Not you don't understand.
But it's also
you don't understand what.
But it's I think sometimes people forget the history of things, like when black people literally couldn't.
This pale ass white man wants to be in blackface.
Yes.
Let me see him.
You should have let him do it.
Oh yeah, but it's also interesting because they don't. maybe they choose not to remember there's a time when black
This
people
man
couldn't
was
be a
alive.
professional actor.
No, this man was alive when that was happening because he has a black and white photo. He is well aware.
Okay, maybe
Jesus.
he was in blackface and wants to go back and relive his youth.
That feels closer to the truth.
Yes, he says in a recent interview, Richard Dreyfuss says, he will never have a chance to play a black man.
He is distraught. I want to be black so bad. I want to be a nigga.
He said that
Y'all won't let me.
The Oscars,
Oscar so white.
the Academy's new diversity standards.
Oscar so white.
And I'm pissed about it.
They're so white they won't let me play a black.
Yeah. How dare you? The audacity of you niggas not letting me play a nigga.
The Academy inclusion requirements mandate on-screen representation and diverse behind-the-scene hiring that make him want to vomit.
Make him want to vomit.
How dare you not let me,
Disgusting.
a white man, play
Do
a
you
black
know
man?
who I am? Well, even if you don't, I'm old and I'm white and I'm a man. And that should be enough.
That should be sufficient.
Oh my gosh.
Ooh, the caucasity.
Not Oscar so white by a white man.
Oh God, I think that's the moment.
And therein lies why we probably need another white person to tell this white man why he's wrong.
I just don't understand. There are a plethora of roles that you can play.
There are.
Why would you? Was it Martin Luther King he wanted to play?
Oh my God.
All people.
Or like Othello? I can't remember who the character he wanted to that he bought up.
I'm trying to find
But
out.
it's just like,
Who was
why?
the journalist, black or white?
Othello.
Othello,
that's what
right?
we
Yeah,
need to
I'm
know
just
next.
like,
Or
why-
no, he defended somebody else's performance of Othello in 1965. He played in blackface.
What did I say?
Sir,
What did I say?
have several seats.
Tell me what I said.
He has his his blackface poster. Like, look, I used to do it. It's fine. You see me? I was a good black man. I played that role. I played that role.
Couldn't even tell.
Talking about he played a black man brilliantly. Am I being told that I will never have a chance to play a black man? Is someone else being told that if they're not Jewish, they shouldn't play the Merchant of Venice? Are we crazy?
Or Hitler? Was it Hitler? Did he say Hitler?
I don't see that, but this
He
is
said brilliantly.
yes.
Wow.
Sorry. I just don't
And
understand.
missed it 10 toes down.
But again, there are a plethora of roles that either don't have a race associated with them, like fictional characters
It's
where they
because
can
white
literally
men
be
don't want to be
anything.
told no. It has nothing to do with the actual race.
Right.
He just
Yeah,
wants
the
to know that you
interpretation.
could do it if you wanted to.
It's wild.
And then tell everybody else they can't do whatever they want to do. That it's the caveats of the both.
I would love to see a
My God.
black man play a white man in whiteface.
We've seen it.
Who?
White chicks.
White chicks.
Not just white man, but is that white trans?
That was a white trans.
Is that what that? No.
That was a
No,
brilliant
that was-
movie.
No.
I don't think it's the same.
Okay. That was a question. I wasn't making a statement.
So they didn't want to be and think they were women. They were playing white women.
That's just
Is there another example?
Moving on.
All right, so holy corn.
actually.
What are we gonna do with this?
We should bring it back.
We just need to move on.
We should bring it back.
The only other
because
example I have is Chappelle.
Oh, wow. That was,
yeah.
that was a great role. The black white supremacist. White power.
I divorced her because she was a nigga lover.
you're the nigga she's loving.
Man. Chappelle's show
man.
can never be a thing right now.
No.
Oh.
It could never.
It's hilarious
Never.
though.
I mean, the one time he came out of hiding, didn't they crucify him on SNL because he said something?
I don't know. Dave Chappelle's always in some type of controversy.
Yeah.
He's a little controversial now.
Can I ask if any of y'all had to play the...
A white woman?
No. But I mean, that's most of
Where I
our
thought it was
lives, so
going.
Yeah, no.
Go ahead.
The DNE person at either your job or...
You said yeah?
Well, I want to hear. Please share.
I feel like there's across different jobs I've had where I had to be like, this is not okay.
Oh, like
okay.
they didn't ask you to be, but you were like the voice in the room?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Like, have I had to give training? No.
Not training, but like, be like, oh, there's something happening, Carol. Like,
Oh no, that hasn't happened. Well, not since school. Like when I was in high school, because I was typically the only Black girl in the room.
Right.
Anytime we talked about slavery, I felt like I was the one that had to give my antidote about how it happened.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't there either, y'all.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like everyone looked at me like, oh, so how do you feel about slavery? Like,
Yeah.
But
It sounds shitty. Do you feel differently?
yeah.
What kind of conversation are we about to have?
But I think we talked about this on a previous pod where I had a coworker being like, so how do you motivate a Black man?
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just like, the same way you motivate a white one. I'm confused as to why we're having this conversation.
Right.
But yeah, that's happened to me a couple of times where I've had to advocate on behalf of Blacks because I'm typically one of few.
Mm-hmm.
I've also only worked for small companies. So I'm usually the only or one of two or three. So
My last job, I had I think I talked about this on here, but my previous manager like was afraid to say the word Juneteenth. It was like he thought he was saying nigga. I don't know what. He was like, oh, the recently approved federal holiday. He would literally say all of that rather than just saying Juneteenth. And
So you're afraid he was going to misspell it or say it?
I have
misspell
zero
it?
idea. I just know that I told my director on my way out, my exit interview, I was like, hey, you need to stop doing that. You need to say Juneteenth. It's fine. It's not a cuss word. And him treating it like it makes it weird. Yeah, it's very weird. And it's it's coming up. I need to see if he changed his ways.
hey, what are you doing on June 19th?
Celebrating anything special on that day?
Oh my gosh.
Have you, Nicole?
I mean, like yourself in high school, just being the only Black, like literally the only Black person in the room all the time. But you know me, I'm ignorant. What do you think about slavery? It's not over yet.
Ooh.
Yikes. Let's make everyone uncomfortable.
Yep.
I feel that.
Yep. I like it.
Yes, I like it.
See, I've been choosing violence since the beginning.
Sometimes I don't choose it until it's too late.
What do you mean?
Like
you didn't
in
choose
the
it
moment,
in
sometimes
time?
I can't
like in your shower thoughts, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then later when it's unrelated, I'm like, yes, I remember when you said.
Doesn't have the same
Yeah.
bite. Doesn't have the
It
same
don't.
bite.
Yeah, I start there, and then I apologize if you need it.
Nicole said you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready.
That's right.
Yeah.
I feel like I was like the resident Black a few times in college, but like no specific instances are coming to mind. I feel like thankfully like my teammates in college were like it wasn't like overbearing. But there were a couple times where I had to check people, like don't be misconstrued. But they weren't like reliant on me.
Right.
If that makes sense.
I mean,
no.
That's what.
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's part of the reason why I went to HBCU. Like I wanted 4
Preach, tabernacle.
years of being a majority. Because I knew that was the
Please,
only
Jesus.
time in my life I will ever be the majority in
Yes.
the situation. So I just wanted those 4 years of that.
Yeah.
Can't nobody take them 4 years from me, honey.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
It was very empowering, I feel like, too.
It was.
I feel like I've never been so proud to be Black. Like,
I'm trying to tell you. I know that there are individuals who are younger, so if you're listening, than us who are still about to go to college or thinking about college, I would suggest that if you are in need of even the slightest of mental health boost, I would say, even if you think you got it all together, there is something about being on an HBCU campus. I've never been more affirmed.
I agree.
And all my weaknesses, I've never been more affirmed than I have been. Even when I didn't even believe in my own self, I've had teachers, I've had administrators, I've had people who I didn't know even knew me affirming me. And as much as we deal with, as we just gone through in this conversation on a day-to-day basis in our lives, to be set up with that, I still ride that. I still ride having that, just remembering who I am, because a lot of times the world will beat you down, but being at a historically Black college definitely helped lift me up.
Yeah, I totally agree. It was the best 4 years of my entire life. Like, I learned so much about myself. I've never been a more affirmed, like, same thing. Like, I have parents, like your teachers become like a parent figure to you that I don't know if they would have been if I went to a different school. It's just,
they don't.
Yeah, the PWI.
Yeah, it was,
although I did have good reports with my 2 Black English teachers, and I was an English major, so.
Yeah. Also, I love seeing Black people in luxury and seeing Black people in a position of power and wealth and esteem. Like, when growing up, like, I had to be, my parents intentionally put me in spaces that I could see Black people doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So like at church or like Jack and Jill and other organizations that I went to. So I saw other Black people doing very well, but I love seeing Black people in luxurious spaces, or like whatever that means to them, whether it's like driving a luxurious car, wearing designer brands, or going out to eat, brunching, like all that kind of stuff. Like at HBCU, it's like you're immersed in it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I'm never going to get that 24/7 ever again. So
Never.
I don't know.
I don't claim that for us. I still hope that we can like buy that piece of land and like be each other's neighbors and like live that life.
But I feel like I immerse myself in it now. Like, I feel like I do see a lot of, like, that's one of the reasons why I moved to Maryland. Like, I wanted to go to the grocery store and see Black people, whereas in Chantilly, Virginia, that wasn't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You know what? There are a lot of Black people in this area, I will say.
That's great.
I was surprised and I'm happy to see it.
That's good. Yeah.
But still, it's not your experience, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I love walking out of my door and walking around my neighborhood, and I only see Black people, and I love that for me and my son.
Oh.
But we can move on, because one thing we gonna do
is
tangent.
Nice. I didn't miss my cue for once. Okay. What's something that you do or like that's outside of what a stereotypical Black woman does or likes?
Swimming.
Oh, I love
Me
swimming.
too. I try to get into Pilates.
Yep.
I do enjoy
I feel
it.
like there's a wave of Black women getting into Pilates.
Yeah, now, yeah. But I
Thanks, Lori.
don't see them in Black neighborhoods. There are not Pilates there are not a ton of Pilates students in Black neighborhoods.
There are not.
I have to cross the bridge.
Yep. I just found out, like, literally within the last week or two, that my younger cousin is a Pilates instructor. And the Pilates studio that I started going to, now I was going to, is very suburban white mom like based. So I started going to another one that was, I guess the lack of better term to use is like it's a more urban area, like it's younger. And one of the instructors was Black, and I was like, oh, I'm about to just live my best life listening to this Black lady tell me what to do. But I also felt pressured to be my best self because I was the only other Black person in the room too. So it's a double-edged sword there.
That it is. At work, a few of us, Black us, have started going to solid core one day a week together. And we specifically go to the Black instructor one day a week. And it is like such an affirming like little moment. It's like, it's so nice.
Yeah.
I would say soccer for me. I don't know if that's too obvious.
Oh, well, 3 of us here have played. That's so interesting.
I loved playing soccer.
I did.
I feel like it's like really common for little girls in suburban areas. I don't know about for boys as much though.
Oh, that's a good point. I know my brother only played because I played.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That was the first one. We didn't have during my time there.
during my time.
During my time, because I just realized how young y'all really are. During my time, there were no girl soccer. Like I think I asked my dad. I first saw it when I was in 3rd grade, and there were no girl teams.
Wow, missed opportunity.
So-
See, you could have been playing with the niggas and then been ready, like dropped off and switched to a girls team right before college and been like,
Should have, but we moved, and then there were some.
Then there was some.
I will say, at least where we grew up, like soccer is probably one of the first sports you can play at a young age. Like
Yeah.
when you turn like
basketball
4.
too though.
Yeah, but I
Yeah,
like
but like, I feel like basketball and soccer are probably the only things you can play at like 4 or 5. Like
Sure.
that's the first organized sport they can kind of like push you into.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's like a regional thing or not.
I don't think so. Well, I mean, I don't know. I can only attest to like when I was playing travel, we played all over.
Yeah, but you were older then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I can attest. But I think that everyone starts pretty young.
I think so.
But there's also like my mom played tennis for like eons before, and I feel like there aren't a lot of black women
They're
in tennis.
not, and it's so interesting. My school, college, Shaw University, shameless plug. We had a tennis team, and I had never met a black person that played tennis until I went to school.
You never met Serena?
Wow.
And I mean, like no, I haven't actually met Serena Williams, but I have never really met. Like my dad played racquetball when I was younger, but like, I don't remember seeing a lot of black people playing tennis. And I was like, when I went to school and we had one, I was like, wow, we have a tennis team at my school. That is crazy.
Oh, like All-American Homecoming?
Yeah.
I don't know
And
that
they were
is.
good. Our tennis team was good.
That's cool.
And bowling too. We had a bowling team.
Oh, okay, bowling.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, I just remember Howard had a soccer team, and I was like, "Dang, missed opportunity."
But that's new. Howard's soccer team is relatively new.
No, they tried to recruit me, but I was like, "This is nice, but you can't pay me, so I'm gonna go somewhere else."
Oh,
Yeah, I'm about to say I know people who
Or
play.
at least maybe for like several HBCUs having soccer teams. Like I don't think several
that
schools
is that
had.
part.
Maybe that's what
Yeah.
it was. Okay.
Because I say I know people who were older than y'all but younger than me that played, and that was the only reason I knew. I was like,
Okay. Our
What?
school, I think our school
How
just
did I miss
recently got a
this?
soccer team.
Okay.
Or Shaw did. That's why I was like, I don't remember like there being a lot of at least CIAA teams that had soccer teams.
What about anything like hiking or camping or art or
I enjoy camping
listening
like
to country music?
in a tent.
Yeah, me either. I like to glamp.
No, I will go in a tent.
You since when?
I don't
I've
see
been
that.
camping in a tent.
What? Me too. But I thought we've had this conversation. We're interested in glamping.
Immediately, no, I've done it, and I don't want to do it again.
That's what it is. What happens is we talk about it, and you guys are like immediately, are we going to be in a cabin?
Wait. I've misremembered these conversations then because I thought that we were on the same page and we're interested in going camping, but if we could stay in a place where we weren't sleeping on the floor.
No,
I will
Shelton,
do-
we're trying to do a tent.
I will
and
do
we were all
either,
like,
but if my preference, I will do either. But if everyone else wants to do a cabin, I'm not going to be like, oh no, you guys are not real campers.
Well, that's how Patrick is. So what's your preference?
I mean, my preference is always running water.
Oh,
okay.
In a bed.
Girl, then you bury in the lead. Okay, so we are on the same page.
But I
is what
will go camping in a tent, is what I'm saying.
Okay, well, I have been removed from that stage of life. I think I am now. I would like a mattress. That's it. Like I'm
We can have a blow-up mattress
Listen,
in a tent.
and we don't even have to have running water. Like I'm open to like staying. Like
See,
if it's one night,
How you gonna get
like,
your crack?
I'm okay for one
now I
night.
need to have somewhere where I can go use the potty.
Okay, but what if it's a situation where it's like, let me not say not running water, but if it's like you camp and then you like have an out situation.
Like an outhouse?
Yeah, like or
I've
like
done
or they
that.
have
A
like
lot
shower
of campsites
stalls.
have a place where you can go and like shower and use the bathroom
Yeah.
and
And
like
immediately
running
now. I
water.
did
Yeah.
that
So
one time.
if that's the option, then I'm in.
Okay, because I've seen a number of like those
'Cause I've had to
glamping.
poop in the woods before, and that is not fun.
No, it's not. I've seen a number of those glamping
What's happening?
domes, and they're like it's like camping, but like elevated, and you're still staying on a mattress. But then like it's just like a shower, like you like 20 yards away is like a shower stall and bathroom, and it's like communal.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I went camping in a tent, we had a blow up mattress.
Nicole said,
Immediately.
Absolutely
No.
The last time I got close to this was Girl Scout camp, and
You were
my
7?
mother
Yeah,
came
it's
and got
been
me in the
some
middle of the
time,
night.
I will say. Listen, we should go to the getaway cabins because that was
I
like a
want
nice.
to do it.
Let's do it
The
because
last time I went to the Poconos was a good time.
That
it
was a good
fun.
time.
That was so long ago.
It
That
was.
was.
Let's do it.
It was a good
We
time.
gotta do it again.
I thought about that.
At that time, Patrick was some coworker that was texting me, and I was like,
That I
"Ugh,
told you
he
he
likes
wasn't even
me."
there, was he?
Weird. No.
No.
we all told you that
He was
y'all was
like-
gonna be together.
He was like, "Please be safe coming back," and I was like, "We're not even leaving today."
See, what did I say? What did I say? We all knew it. You just didn't.
You know what I have recently gotten into? Hockey.
What?
I want to go to a game.
Like because you went to a game and then you liked it?
Yes.
Oh,
I heard it's really. Dwight
It's
want to.
so
used to go.
much
The
fun.
aggression.
Yeah.
Oh, it is
Everything.
fun.
Like hockey is because there's like baseball, I can only do a couple innings before I get
I'd
bored.
be rooting for the wrong team all the time. You know what?
With hockey?
With baseball.
What?
Because as soon as I hear a ball get hit, I'm like, yeah, because there's action. Before I realize what team hit it.
People were like,
Okay.
"Man, they just scored a home run on us." What are you talking about?
Hockey
oh,
is like
something's
soccer
happening.
on crack because they're constantly moving.
Not soccer on crack.
Oh, okay.
I know. My college, they had a hockey team, so we used to go to games all the time.
Okay, yeah.
They're really fun.
Not my experience.
Oh.
I didn't go to a hockey game until I was an adult, and it was so much fun. I advocate for
I've never
everyone
been
to
to
go
a
to a hockey
Capitals
game.
game. I say we make moves.
Yes, because the Caps are actually good. There's that one
Yeah,
DC
I
team
wanna
that actually
go.
wins.
I've been trying to
Not
go.
going.
So please, yes.
Let's
I've been
go.
trying to
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's plan that.
I like Legos and country.
Oh, Oh,
I love Legos.
Oh, the new botanical Legos. You like country? That is news to me. Oh, okay.
You should Trey's into Legos now. We just so we have to put together like kits and stuff. I meant to tell you the other day because I just put together the Sonic one, which was a little relaxing without him though. Like he gotta go do something else.
He's not gotta get them Diplo
yes,
joints.
I'm just. But I did feel a little relaxing. But I think you might enjoy doing it with.
I love it. Come on, yes.
Also, that reverse coloring book looks super
I wanna do
relaxing.
that so bad.
Yeah,
I
adult
feel like you
coloring
gotta be
books are
talented
nice.
to do that.
What reverse? Oh, we
It
have
just
to
like
peel
lets
it
your
off.
imagination run, and I feel like it's one of those things that might be hard at first, but then like once you let yourself start going, like I think it will start. I feel like something happens to us as adults, like where we don't tap into that creativity aspect enough anymore, and so like it just kind of like withers. But like I feel like that allows you to like start tapping into it more, which is like I think that once you start, it's just like one of those things that will like
Yeah,
continue
because you
to
can probably can you
crescendo.
draw?
No,
Wait, what is reverse coloring?
We'll share it with
it
you.
has it's like this coloring book, and it has like it's almost like it looks like
Ink
watercolors.
blots
So
almost.
it's like a whole bunch of like different colors and just like sporadic. But you like take an ink pen and then you like draw outlines into like whatever you think the picture could be. So like
I
it
used
could
to
be
do that a lot.
fish, could be birds, it could be trees.
I
it
need a
could be
coloring book.
whatever.
I want the outline to already be there.
They have
Yeah.
those.
I know, so I'm saying that's where I would thrive.
They kind of stress me out though because sometimes it's too little. I'm like, oh my god, there's so many colors.
Yeah.
There's so much to do.
Oh no, I get them joints from the dollar store where it's like Mickey Mouse. That's what I'm coloring.
That's not
in.
an adult coloring book. That's
Just a coloring
book.
I'm an adult coloring in this book. It's an adult coloring book. Okay.
Oh, I gotta add one. Cats.
Oh, okay.
No.
Wait, the play or the animal? Just clarifying.
Say the play, please.
The play is great. I like the
Please
play.
say the play.
Oh, okay. Theater
animal.
is one.
I will
feel
say
like
I enjoy a good musical.
you do.
I love musicals.
I cannot
But I was a
Me too.
theater girl growing up.
I remember.
So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like.
If you got to sing to
Theater.
get to your point, I am done.
No.
So you weren't into any Disney movies?
So you don't like pastors?
I stopped by on my way to heaven just to tell you that God is good. God is good.
I hate it here.
I will say that there's like 3 or 4 Disney movies that I like. All the rest trash.
Didn't you like Fantasia?
All of the Disney movies you just liked? Wow.
What the fast forward button for the sing it.
Wait, you like Fantasia, don't you?
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't even consider those musicals.
That's the worst Disney movie ever
is.
created by Disney Corporation.
It is. But I consider musicals to be like the plays with people that then
No, but I
randomly
know,
break out into
but
song.
I remember having this conversation with Sai, and she's like, "Oh, I love Fantasia. Like, you like the worst movie they ever created, the one with no words.
Yes. Stop
She's
singing.
a complete inverse.
There's no words. All she wants is the music and colors.
Stop talking.
It's like an aneurysm on film.
Well, I will say, if I'm going to do musicals, there's 2 that I do like. They are not they're not kids cartoons.
If it's not Lion King, I don't want to talk to you.
Is it
it's
Dreamgirls?
not. No. It is The Wiz.
Hairspray? Oh, okay.
Is that a
And-
Disney movie?
No.
No, I said they're not Disney movies. They're not
Oh.
cartoons. The Wiz and Annie, the 1982 version. I don't know what all y'all.
With the white girl?
Yeah.
Oh my
Okay.
god, I love all
That's
of
cute, but that is like quintessential musical.
Only
Yeah.
2 I like.
Annie.
bizarre.
Well, every
It
single
is.
version of Annie I love. That's one of my favorite musicals.
I love that one. Have you
The
seen the new one?
Wiz
The black
is
one?
like 6 hours long, and you were sitting through that.
It's because it's blackity black and Sai is pro
Yeah.
black. But did you see the new Annie with the black people? Sorry. Was that
Yes,
yours?
it was true.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I love every rendition of Annie. With Jamie Foxx, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I
It
love
was
all of
on
them.
when we were in St. Lucia. Have you seen that one?
I haven't.
It's
Oh,
Which
okay.
one?
You
Because
can
I
like
also
that one.
am a purist, and I'm like, you can't
with
ruin my first one.
I mean,
If they
Jamie
made a
Foxx.
different one, a different movie, I probably would have liked it.
the one with Jamie Foxx is really good,
I
and
heard, but
the Annie is black.
I know. And if they had made that
Shit, don't
first, I
care.
would have liked that one better.
You're racist.
She hasn't even seen it.
I haven't. It's just because I'm like, don't ruin what I love.
All right,
I'm one of those people like,
can we
I
watch it?
barely
It's
like
so
I barely
good.
like musicals. I got 2. Don't ruin
Don't
one of the
deviate.
2. Right.
Okay.
Please.
I'm with you with cats, though. Pets in general, I feel like black women aren't known to like
Like-
pets, and I think that we do.
Oh, and I like. I don't.
a lot of
Oh,
black women like dogs.
I forgot. I
Not
want
you.
I
But
love
I feel like
lizards
that was
and
Monopoly.
dogs.
a lot of the comments that are on Black people pets are that like, oh, I'm so happy to see Black people having pets like as a representation because it's not something that you see that often.
Yeah.
I feel like every Black woman that I know,
Owns a dog.
yes, or
I
did
think-
at some point.
Let me say this. I think it's not just owning a dog, but owning a dog and treating it like family.
Mm-hmm. That's also the.
I think
My grandma
that's
had
the
dogs,
part.
but they were all outside.
All of them.
Every last one of them. I like lizards. I like frogs. I want to
Snakes.
give you a blue tongue skink.
Who?
Skink.
Say that.
What?
Wait,
Blue
what?
tongue skink.
What is that?
That's a
Blue
lizard.
tongue skank. That
That
sounds like something my mama said to
sounds
me.
like a
Skink.
derogatory
Is his
term.
name gonna be Skank? Because that's what I'm gonna call it when I come over.
What
Okay.
is it?
It's a
The
lizard.
lizard.
What's a skank?
Oh,
It's a lizard. It's
It's a
just. It's got
skink.
like a really fat head, and it's got a blue tongue. Did he spell?
You have to
skink?
feed
she
it live
said
bugs.
blue
Yeah.
tongue skank. And
I
I
had a
said
frog
that
before.
sounds
Does it
like
say
something
in
my
the
mama
cage?
called me.
Okay, let's move on. This has gotten.
It's been a long tangent.
Anyway,
All right, we gotta go. Let's move on.
We do.
Coley's corner.
come have a seat at the
Christ.
table.
Not
Wow.
you being a blue head skate.
Yeah.
Blue tongue skink. Look it up.
Anyway.
Blue head skank is much better.
It is. It is only gonna be Nicole. I would a blue headed skank.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
My cheeks hurt from laughing so hard.
Ew.
That is
That
not
looks
cute.
big like an alligator.
Why don't you just get a salamander?
Everyone hates it.
Does it stay in its cage or would you take it out?
Look at my baby.
I would take it out.
Hold on, wait.
Oh,
that's
absolutely
That's one of
not.
those things when you look at the picture and be like, oh, it's precious.
No. Ew. No. Turn it off. Turn it off. I'm scared.
Not your baby is cute, but oh, it's precious.
My stomach hurts.
Oh my god. How do I know to keep y'all out of my house when I get
Don't ask me to pet sit. He gonna be gone in the street.
Oh, God.
Now he gonna be gone. You have to feed it live bug. She would never ask you.
Exactly, ever.
Facts. It'll be dead.
Well, anyway, Coley's Corner scenario for the day comes from It's On Site. It's not related to the topic, but it's fine. So, I found out my 17-year-old daughter purchased an inappropriate toy online, so I took away her debit card and I'm regulating her job money, but now she's barely talking to me. What do I do?
I just saw this come up on another podcast.
She live in your house?
I'm assuming she's 17. Let's assume that she does.
Well, okay, so let's assume that she lives there. And I'm going to go, now, two things my mama used to tell me when I was coming up was, if you spending my money, and as long as you live in my house. Now, the one we couldn't quite get together was as long as you live in my house because I'm 17, that's obvious. But if I'm out here spending my hard-earned money on the things that I want to buy, am I questioning what you buy with your money?
Can you say that living in someone else's house that cavalierly though?
Well, see, you said something that I'm not sure the question posed answered, which was, is it this young lady's money that she has obtained through work?
She
Is that she's a
said
job?
Yeah.
it said purchased an inappropriate toy online, so I took away her debit card and I'm regulating her job money.
Actually, taking away my
Job,
debit.
okay.
Not me trying to go to work and being like, oh shoot, I hope I'm not low on gas because I don't have a debit
She's
card.
on Rich Life with that couple.
Terrible.
I don't know how I feel about it. Just because, I mean, I'm auntie keeping it real. At the age of 17, like some people are sexually active, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the reality is in a lot of instances, your 17-year-old is sexually active. Out in these streets, a toy in your room. Go to your room. I would prefer you go to your room than you be out here in these streets wilding.
You ain't gonna get pregnant. You ain't gonna get an STD.
Right.
Dude,
So,
I think-
so it's like let's pick the battle. Like, is she spending your money or is she like living under your roof and using your resources, but she uses her money for all of her own personal things, like her clothes, her eye hygiene products, and she happened to
She
buy
only making
this.
$200 a week.
Yeah, she ain't buying
I
all
mean,
that.
but at that age, how much do you really?
I know, but I'm saying she's not buying all of that.
Right.
She ain't buying her clothes.
That's,
Okay.
the reason that's the reason why she had the money for the toy.
Facts.
I mean, you're
That was
you're
her
assuming
weekly
that she
paycheck.
had an expensive toy. I mean,
No, I guess I'm saying.
It doesn't matter.
Is there a conversation that's being had? Because there has to be a
I think
conversation.
that there should be a conversation. I'm not going to take. I'm not
should you
going to
have-
take the money that you work for.
I'm not saying you shouldn't have this toy. I'm just saying we have to have a conversation.
Agreed.
I agree with that, but I feel like the conversation should come before 17.
Yeah, agreed. That's what
Okay.
I was thinking too. It feels as if, sorry, Mom, but
Wait. The sex talk or like masturbating talk?
Both?
both.
Okay.
Don't
I'm
they go
talking about-
together?
Yeah.
Yeah, in my house they would. They may not in others, which is fair.
Acknowledged.
But I believe that we need to have.
Ooh, what's the age
Pers-
though?
That's what I'm saying. I was just about to
Sorry,
exactly.
go
Well,
when
it would
you have
definitely be to me. It would
middle
be
school
before,
now. The way these kids is out in these streets.
Yeah, but definitely
Elementary, honestly.
Honestly, I'd probably do it. It would, for sure. We're having at least regular conversations about your body and those type of things prior to having your period or whatever the case may be.
Define regular.
When-
Like, what does that mean?
For me, it would be something of, because I feel like a lot of times it's not talked about enough, and I want it to be something that's common in my house.
Like,
I understand that.
Yeah. So, you know,
We talk
prior
about
to-
anatomy pretty often in my house.
Right. And I think just being okay with having that conversation so the kid doesn't feel like it's not a,
It's taboo.
It's taboo, right? So then we're moving into when we're hitting middle school. I don't know. I think it's case by case, right? So if you're seeing
And
your
maturity
maturity level, if you're seeing your child getting maybe, I hate this term, but just appreciating the opposite sex or same sex, and it's looking like it's getting a little aggressive.
Wait, what do you hate? Appreciating?
No, the term I was about to use that I chose not to
Okay,
use.
you don't have to say it.
Okay,
I
thank
thought
you.
you said it.
No, I was like, let me find a term that's
I was trying to
something
understand why that was
Yeah,
wrong.
no.
Okay.
Then I would want to have a conversation about sex in general, what is to be expected with partners, without partners, right? So like those are the conversations that I'm having. And so to me, it sounds like this parent was not having or communicating in a way where her child felt comfortable with communicating that I've heard about this and it's something I want to do. It sounds like it's very much, we're not having any communication. I decided to do something. You found out about it. Now you want to talk about it, but you want to talk about it in a way of
Reprimanding.
Right. Reprimanding and also saying what's not going to happen. I can understand the mom can have had all of these conversations and still say, this is not going to happen in my house. But what it's sounding like is that's not what was happening. What it sounds like, it's straight reprimanding and no conversations about what boundaries I have in my home.
Right.
Which should be something that should have been happening with the conversations about sex.
Can I
So-
ask a core question to this? Is masturbating in the home a boundary to you? Or anybody here?
I think so.
I was just about to ask it.
I think
But with the toy, I think elevates it.
Yeah,
I would love to hear.
Yeah,
more.
I feel like exploring. Well, back to our Sex and the City conversation. I don't need to hear Nathan, including the buzz of your toy, if that's
I'm brushing
what
my
it is.
But is that for your comfort or your can you explain the core reason?
I think we talked about this before, and we are on opposite ends of this. There are certain things that are not going to happen in my home that I pay the bills for.
Wait.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that is what I'm just saying that in my home, as far as I'm concerned, there are boundaries. That boundary is going to be one as far as when you want to explore yourself or with others. That can happen when you leave. It will not happen here in my home. That's
regardless of whether you're home or not.
So if
Oh,
I
no, we
find
had-
out,
okay,
we
I
had this
remember-
conversation.
I
Yeah, and I was like,
remember this.
if you get caught, you know the rules. You made a choice, and then there are consequences for that. So I don't, and that's another thing. This didn't say that like they had talked about this. So it could have been something where the mom was like, "Hey, I told you no sex, no nothing in my home. These are my rules, and Now you're being reprimanded. I don't know, but it doesn't seem like that was the case. And I want to make sure that for me, we can have all the conversations up front, but at the end of the day, the rule is still you ain't gonna have it in my house.
Okay. Carol, what's your take?
I feel like sex and exploring your body feel different to me. I don't want my child to feel shame around exploring their body themselves and knowing what that feels like and what that means. I don't want them to feel shame around it. I
don't, but you ain't able to do it in my house.
See, I
So
feel
why
like
would you rather them do it?
So you want them sitting there looking crazy for the first 18 years of their life until
I
they
do.
move out?
And you know what? I don't care if you do it in a
looking
car.
crazy.
I don't care if you do it in you guys did. I didn't.
Wait,
And
Carol,
conversation we had,
did what?
If y'all did it, if you cared if they did it in a car. You wanted
It's a
them to do it.
crime. You can literally go to jail.
I don't care if you do it in a car. I don't care if you do it at your friend's house. As long as you understand the rules are in my house that this does not happen,
Why
that's
would
why.
you prefer them to do it there?
I don't prefer you to do it at all. But if you're going to make that choice, that's your
just said
personal
that you don't
choice.
want them to
I'm
feel
not.
shame.
I'm not because I'm not ashamed of you needing this. I am saying these are the rules of my house. It's not about shame.
Okay.
It's not about shame.
Okay, I got it. Carol, keep going.
I don't know if I would have an issue with them masturbating in the privacy of their room. I don't want you doing it in the living room.
Right.
We're watching TV.
Right.
I feel
In common areas.
Yeah, I feel like we need to talk about like you exploring your body is
What's
something that
appropriate,
you
what's
do.
not.
Yeah, like in a private setting. It's something you should be ashamed of, but it's also something you do in public. But I think the toy is where I would have to do some talking, reflecting, and talking to my child about, because there's other things that come with you using a toy. So for a woman, I don't have a penis, so I don't know what it's like. There's that you're losing sensitivity in that area. And so you're expecting orgasming with a toy versus orgasming with a person are not going to be the same.
Okay, I just watched this podcast where that got brought up. And
I think I saw this too.
okay, the cliffhanger was like whether or not you actually do like lose sensitivity if you overuse a toy. And the sex educator on the podcast was like, we got to stop telling these lies. And I was like, what? And then it cut off. So then I was like, wait,
but I mean,
I need to watch it so I know whether or not that's true.
But
And I don't know.
I just, okay, I'm not going to.
No, like say your piece because I'm
I guess what I'm saying is like,
It's
That's your
different.
concern. It's your concern.
different.
No, I guess what I'm saying is like everyone's different, right? So
Yeah.
everyone's bodies are different. I would be hard pressed to think that if you're using a toy that vibrates at that level, if you're thinking that your orgasm is going to be the same and come as quickly as it does with a vibrator versus penetration with a sexual partner, they are not the same. Like they just aren't the same.
Sure.
And so I just would be.
So is that the concern or the conversation?
The conversation, like I just want them to know that even like when I think we talk about watching porn, like you're watching this sensationalized thing where you're thinking that if that's your first introduction to sex, you're going to be very disappointed when you have sex yourself with a partner. Like that's porn sex and real life sex are just not the same.
So you think the toy and the porn conversation go together?
Yeah, because I don't know a lot of people that are using a toy that are not watching porn at the same time. Maybe I'm thinking
Interesting. Okay.
without putting myself on blast.
You didn't say anything about you till then.
Until right now in this moment.
I just feel like I also want my child to be a child as well. And but I also understand being a child comes with exploring your body, exploring things. And so I hope that I have a relationship with my child, maybe children in the future, that we can talk about what that means. And I would just like leave the door open. I feel like while I don't want my child having sex in my home, personally, I feel them using a toy is less offensive to me.
Is less offensive than having sex?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like
I feel
bring
like
another person over and
Yeah.
I feel like I didn't know anything about toys when I was 17. So
I didn't either.
it's like very hard
Or
to think
access
about.
to it. I feel like I went to a sex toy
Amazon.
party. Now you can buy it on Amazon.
Yeah, on
and
Amazon.
It's easy. Or Walmart, honestly. I feel like I
Uh-huh.
just saw someone say you can buy it on Walmart, like Target.com.
And that accessibility is like something I've never had to consider, which
Yeah.
is like pretty wild to think about. Sorry.
For sure.
Go ahead.
No, I.
Yeah, I don't really have any hot takes. I just,
I mean, your opinion. Do you think? Do you have an issue with your child?
I would want to not. I think the
I also
core
feel
of
like-
me would have what?
No, I was saying I feel like we're talking a lot about daughters, but there are sex toys for boys.
Sure, and that's exactly what I was about to say. I was about to say that I feel like if I had a daughter, like I would try to be like more pragmatic about it and like wanting to have the door open, and Patrick would lose his shit. And so, but I think I don't want to say the reverse because I don't think I would lose my shit if we had a boy and that was what was happening. But I like Patrick's response, I think would be very different.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think it's like hard. Like that part makes it hard because you like want to be on one accord, but also like you want to be like what your child needs in that moment. And I think I would want to be a safe space if that's what was needed. I would prefer it to sex also. I'm of two minds. I feel like some people like saying like, well, allowing this is allowing sex and it's like a gateway, but I think that doesn't necessarily have to be the truth.
Not with good communication, right?
Well, and like, I know that like, you know, there are plenty of 17-year-olds having sex. So if this is what you're doing instead, like I would prefer that. Like if you are like having urges and interests and want to explore, like I don't want to deny that from you or make you feel like it's bad or wrong or shameful, because I feel like that's what closes the door to being able to have fruitful conversations like going forward. I mean, I want you to be able to like ask me questions. Like we need to have conversations around hygiene and like how to take care of yourself and like making sure, you know, like you need to be involved. Cause like a lot of the things that like, while a sex toy is like the knowledge of that is coming sooner, I don't know if all of the knowledge around it is coming with it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'd rather you,
I also don't know if
I
I'm
don't want you to
taking
be like, yeah, I just got one off, like coming out of your room. Like,
Yeah.
we don't need to have that level of comfort.
I also don't think I'm going to the sex store with you and being like, hey, so like which dildo do you want to?
Yeah, not at all. Like there is definitely going to be like the line of like I know and understand, but I'm not a party. I don't need to be like made aware of like every time, when, how, what, like all of that. Like you still need to be like respectful, but I want to be like not make you feel bad for the fact that this is what's happening, because it's natural. Like you are human in a body. You know what I mean? So like I just want to be like as realistic about that as I can, even though it will be hard as a parent.
I was like, ask me when my child's 17 or 16 or 13, or I don't even know like when this is starting.
Right.
And I feel like that's what makes it scarier. Like having this conversation at 17 seems less alarming to me than trying to have it at 13 or 12.
Right.
That to me, like I think my reaction might be different.
Oh, absolutely. If you're asking me for a sex toy at 13,
Like, no.
yeah, like it's
not time yet.
Yeah, our conversation's gonna be way different than my 17 or 18 year
We
old.
didn't even
But then
explore
how do you try
why.
to how do you have the conversation later? Like, okay, now it's okay. Like how do like what
I don't
like
know that
what
you
is
ever
like
do.
the transition into like, you know what I mean? If you have that initial conversation as like, no, this is inappropriate. Like, I don't know that there's ever going to be a time where I'm like bestowing it upon you. Like you've reached the age.
But this is why I said also that for me, I know you guys feel like boundaries are shaming, but I don't consider boundaries to be the shame.
No, I don't know if I agree with that.
But my boundary is that you will not do it in my home.
I don't want you doing it in public or at a friend's house.
Okay, I'm not telling you to do it somewhere else either. What I am saying is that my boundary is this: you can't do it here. You, as an adult or are approaching adulthood, are going to make choices, right? We've all made choices, whether or not our parents have known about it or not, right? Yeah. And so my thing is this: I have a hard line about whether or not you're going to do any of the things that I've laid out as not doing them in my home. If you make a choice to do it in my home and I don't know about it, that's your choice, right? But I want to have an open conversation about what sex is, how it should make you feel, what it is to expect of these things, what your body might feel like, how it's okay to say no, how it's okay to say yes, what to be open to. I don't think that my boundaries change any of those things. Only thing that it is changing is whether or not my awareness of it happens after I've told you to not do it in my home. Yeah, that's the only thing.
I know you're watching Working Moms, and I don't know if you've gotten here yet, but there's an episode when one of the group of moms has like a coming of age party.
I did.
The mom finds out that her daughter
for what?
So the mom finds out her daughter
is trying to
had sex. Right. Right. She thinks it's her daughter's first time, so they're having like a you just lost your virginity party.
What?
I'm never.
As a supportive mother.
Yeah.
Oh, she's not like outing her? Like,
No.
No. Well,
I mean, to her mom's friends. She
Yeah,
is.
Just caught you, bitch.
No.
No. Well, the other, they're kind of like telling her like, this is how my first time was. Like,
They're trying to be
you're now a
supportive.
woman.
In a party scenario?
But it's just women. It's kind of like a period
but
party.
other human beings?
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
want to have it with my mom.
Yes.
I also don't want to have it with my friends, neighbors.
Yes, and that's
My
exactly how the
mom's
dark
best
friend.
friend.
Yes, guys.
Hold on.
Sorry,
Let her
sorry.
finish.
I was
Let her
panicking.
finish.
Yes. You're right.
It is coming. I mean, watching it as a fictional storyline
It's hilarious.
feels less offensive than you're taking it.
Oh, okay, sorry. I was very
But their
alarmed.
daughter was very
On your page.
Yeah, she's very uncomfortable in this whole situation. But I think she later got more comfortable as they're telling her how uncomfortable their first times were, and
So she didn't
all
feel
the time.
alone.
Yeah, so she didn't feel alone. So, but the later it comes out that this wasn't her first time, and she'd been in these streets, legs wide open,
Like 7-Eleven.
Yeah, but I brought that up to say, like, do you guys feel like it would be more of a like celebration of like you're coming into?
No, we're not
Once
celebrating
I learned
anything.
that they have had sex,
Well,
No.
or discovering your body,
just be the good Christian girl I raised and keep it a secret and be good at lying.
Be good at lying. And
That's what we
sneaking
ask,
around.
listen. That's what we asking them to do. That's what I want to change. I don't want to know about your first time. I don't. I like, and I respect that is like a boundary between you and I. Like,
Yeah.
I don't have to hear about yours. You ain't got to hear about mine.
Should we talk
But there are
about?
some families who do.
But if you want to come to me and ask questions, like I want to be open to that. I just don't like. I don't need to be your diary. I want us to be close, and I want you to feel comfortable enough to come to me. But I'm not your best friend.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't need you to feel like, oh, guess what Michael just did
Right.
for the first time.
No.
Yeah, like that's not where I'm trying to be with you.
Yeah,
Because you're
For
the
sure.
adult also. I think that there's still...
There's a line.
There's a line, and parents... We talked about this in previous podcasts, but there's parents aren't there to really be friends, but to help guide you through life. And hopefully... in the beginning, they don't tell you a lot because you're not going to understand it. But as you get older, sure, you're starting to have conversations. But that don't mean that all of the walls come down. There are some lines of mutual respect that, need to be maintained so that when the time comes, maybe when your daughter's 30 and you're however age, you can get to the point of being all right with
Any
it.
of y'all there now? Any of you?
Well,
Is there one?
Do you guys have kids at 30? I mean, I
No,
think
no,
that
but
No, I'm
we
saying
are kids
as a
past
30-year-old,
with
I'm not going back
parents.
to mom's. Like, remember that first time I got my cheeks slapped?
I don't mean that.
Yeah, no, I don't
are
think
you
so.
having more candid conversations with your mom now that you're older?
Yes,
Yes.
but not to the level of description.
No.
Right?
Yeah, like
it's
not
more-
this type of
it's not
conversation.
No,
detailed.
I think, it's not detailed at all, but it's very much unawareness, right? Like,
Yeah, my mom won't know that I had sex for sure.
right.
When you're pregnant.
Yes.
Yes.
I
Right.
told my mom the first time that I smoked weed, but I was like 30.
Okay, yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So it doesn't start at sex, but I think that there are certain things that definitely, okay, like, all right, a little bit.
I also told her that my brothers did too, just so I feel a camaraderie.
Imagine being a narc to try to have a bonding moment. Wow.
We all in here together.
No, you're in there telling on all of them.
It's not just me, Mom. It's not just me.
That's
I'm not
different.
alone. I'm not alone in this.
All right, so if they want to submit questions.
So
Boy.
if anyone wants to submit questions
Yeah, I
for
forgot we
Cole's
was in
Corner,
Cole's Corner.
you can email them at wkutogether@gmail.com, or you can DM us respectfully at What Keeps Us.
With all the respect.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, it's time for Meme of the Week.
Meme of the week. Meme of the week.
Like that.
Okay, so this one's coming from Triple T. There's several A's.
Oh.
I was looking like, what? Are you glitching right now?
And it says, whoever praying for me, just stop because y'all got me all kinds of ish.
Wow.
You gotta be careful who you ask to pray for you.
Right.
Yeah, been there,
Right.
done that.
What are they praying for?
I don't know. That's why I said stop.
Right.
Stop. Just do something
Something
else.
Stop! Just do something else!
Man, he sounds more and more panicked every time I hear that.
Every time. All right. It's time for Afro Shade.
All right.
Oh, who wants to go first?
Man, our tangent really tangented. Now
Yeah,
I don't
'cause
remember our
what is
core
our
conversation.
topic? Oh, diversity and inclusion.
Diversity and inclusion.
Yes.
I'll go first. I just want to affirm that we can have open and honest dialogue and conversations, whether that be across racial lines, sexual orientation, age, disabilities, whatever. For whatever reason, previously, I think we just shy away from differences when difference is what really makes us all special. It's what our country was originally founded on, was a difference of opinion and just differences in general. So I think that if we can just stop being scared of people that look different than us, believe in different things, and just can have open conversations, we would be in a much better place. So I just want to affirm that being different is okay. That having uncomfortable conversations is not a bad thing. This is the only way that we're going to grow and become better people and individuals for ourselves and for our community, and that we should embrace those conversations instead of shying away from them.
Yeah, that's good. So one that I've actually been sitting with for the last week. I mean, just in general, it's just been with me for the last week that pertains to this is, I affirm for our listeners that you belong in whatever space you want to be in. And sometimes it's going to be comfortable for you to be in it, especially if it's something of interest. Sometimes it's not going to be comfortable, but just know that you belong in that space, whether or not you feel either of those two. And just in that moment of being in that space, knowing that you belong and that your people are going to be your people, and those who aren't your people, sometimes they just need to educate themselves. So that's it.
Boom. I affirm that while these conversations around diversity, equity, and inclusion may always have to happen, like that they won't always feel this hard. Like it won't feel like we are having to make these leaps and bounds and strides just to be seen as human. I think that like right now it's been like especially hard these last few years, but I think I just affirm for us that it will not always be the case, that diversity, equity, and inclusion will be more commonplace, will be thought through, will be considered by the higher ups, by people who don't look like us, by people who genuinely want for us what they have access to, and that it won't feel like a reach or something that is out of bounds or something that is unattainable, that it is like there and waiting for us. And I truly do like affirm that that is what our future beholds.
Amen.
Amen. I want to affirm for our listeners that change is exactly what it needs to be in the moment that we're having it. I think a lot of times when we consider diversity and inclusion, there are individuals who may be considered the haves, or at least powers that be, that are seeking to not make things change. And we have individuals who have embraced a change, or are part of the change, or are the change that we want to see, and are trying to force or push or fight against oppressive powers that be. And I think that the change that we are seeking, the change that we are fighting for, the change that we know to be true for ourselves and others around us is worth the fight. I think a lot of times others will tell you you need to slow down, or you need to just be grateful for what you have. But the fight that you have and the desire that you have for this change and diversity is necessary, because there is no one thing that life is fluid. I should put it that way. Life is fluid and nothing ever stays in one way. This change that you are seeking, the change that you are desiring. We started off this podcast talking about companies, seeking to be more inclusive, but missing the mark. They are trying to change. And even though you're going to still have to fight, you're going to still have to push, even though you still have to ask, even though you're going to still have to desire more, that uncomfortability, we got to be able to be okay with sitting in it. We got to be okay with being okay with things not being okay, so that we can get the things that we want. This world did not start off where it is, and it's not going to stay the same, nor is it going to be how we envision it for now, later. But we got to be okay with that change. We got to be okay with being the conduits of that change. We got to be okay with the fight. don't give up the fight. I'm affirming for everybody, don't give up the fight. Change is going to come. And when it comes, it's going to not only elevate you, but it's going to elevate others. And that's what we're here for. We're all here. We've all been made to help bring along the rest of us. And so I just say, stay strong for the fight, and that change is going to come.
Amen.
And I know a change gonna come.
Bring it on back.
Oh, yes, it is. In 2 weeks.
All right, bye.
Bye, y'all.
Peace.